Germany, and Singapore. Those are just 3 countries that are leading globally the least amount of coronavirus cases and leading with the most amount of coronavirus cases, the United States. And what's the difference? People trusting fiction over fact, the lack of trust, and a lack of leadership that we have. Globally, we're sitting at roughly 40 million coronavirus cases with roughly 1.1 million deaths. Nationally, in the United States, we're sitting at 8.1 million cases with just over 200,000 deaths. Now, New Zealand, they blocked all entrance into the country almost immediately when coronavirus struck. And as things started to simmer down and people were able to enter the country, an immediate enforced quarantine for 2 weeks for anyone who's coming into the country. And if you broke that quarantine, well, there were consequences to pay. Not only that, just like Germany and Singapore, they have mass testing, which allowed for them to track the hot spots and contain it. What we're not doing in the United States, we're only limiting so many countries from entering the United States. Not all countries. There are still some here and there that are allowed to come in. But coronavirus is a global issue now. It's not just certain countries. It's a global pandemic. And it's in the state's power whether to enforce a quarantine or not. Some states don't even require a mask. And so for us to nationally enforce a quarantine and to nationally enforce masks, well, then you're gonna have people that are calling for backlash. In Germany, their biggest asset was communication. What we don't have is communication. We're being told facts, we're being told fake news, and we don't know what to believe. But in Germany, with constant scientists updating the public about what is going on inside and outside of their country, people were able to trust the scientists. And just like you had people who thought it was a hoax. But if you have people, trained professionals, keeping you updated, wouldn't you trust them? Not only that, they had mass testing as well. And what Trump doesn't believe in is mass testing. He believes if we start doing mass testing, you're going to see higher number of cases. Yes, but if you see higher number of cases, you're able to contain it. You're able to see where those hotspots are and contain the issue. In Singapore, all healthcare for anyone who tested positive for COVID was free. All self-employed and everyone else had a paid leave. And that's just the beginning. When it came to quarantine, it was enforced. It was a national mandate. And if you broke that quarantine, some people even lost their residency. You have people here who are sitting in poverty, who are testing positive for COVID and still have to pay for healthcare bills, but don't even have an income. So in conclusion, this isn't a political fight anymore. This is a fight for the greater good of our well-being as a nation and as a world. We're fighting for people who may not be able to pay for their hospital bills, who may not be able to have a stable income. And we're fighting against a pandemic. We're fighting against a virus. If we just listen to the scientists and listen to what they're saying, rather than listening to fake news and fiction, then we'll be able to contain the virus and we'll be able to move on with our lives. Just look at New Zealand. They're able to have concerts now. There's no mask mandate anymore. In Germany, yes, cases are still somewhat on the rise, but they're on the lower end of the spectrum because they listen to professionals. And in Singapore, they're very extreme with their punishments when it comes to breaking quarantine and any other rules that are mandated for coronavirus. That's the difference with the United States. The United States can't do any of that because you have people saying it goes against their rights. You have people saying it's a hoax. You have people just blatantly not wearing a mask and not going into quarantine and not social distancing. And that's why we are the #1 country with the most amount of cases.